Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Steve Caton again from Alteza, and I'm excited to be with you again to have another one of these thought leadership conversations that I love to have with other professionals who are out there serving small business owners in ways that we don't here at Alteza. But we care about the entire operating system that makes up your business and helps you grow. And so we're all about helping you grow. And so when we find people out there who also help our clients and other businesses grow, we love to have conversations with them. So today I'm speaking with Hilary Dolbee, B2B CFO. And I'm going to let Hilary tell us a little bit more about herself. But essentially, she's providing fractional CFO services for small businesses. And Hilary, welcome to the Thought Leader conversation today. Tell us a little bit more about you and what you do.
Well, thanks, Steve. I'm happy to be here. I'm glad that we can share the love and knowledge of what we do to help small businesses grow. As you said, I'm a partner with B2B CFO. We're a national firm and we focus on small and medium-sized companies. We provide strategic business advisory services. And so what does that mean? It means we're the financial brain that sits at your leadership table and tries to help you achieve the goals that you have in your business from cradle to grave. So growing your business, adding new divisions, divestitures, sale at the end when you're ready to leave your business, because we all do at some point, by force or not. And so it's really just trying to help people to grow and develop their business from a time frame that is something they can afford. It's budget friendly because it's somewhere between 2 hours a month and 2 days a week.
Yeah, that's awesome. But one of the things I love about these conversations is that I learn a ton. I'm really, in some ways, it's a selfish thing, right? I'm here learning from you and other people like you, but then I get to share that knowledge with others, which is great. But when we talked the first time, Hilary, you used that phrase of kind of having a financial voice at the leadership table, which I thought was awesome. Caught my attention. I loved it. And so I want to dig more into that because I think that as a small business owner myself, and I know a lot of others, we don't necessarily think about having the financial voice at the table all the time. We probably think of it more seasonally. Like there's certain times that I need to have the financial voice at the table, but not all the time. So that's what I'd love for you to speak to. So tell us why it's important for small business owners to have that financial voice at the table.
Okay. Well, as we all know, cash is king, and the world goes around with money. You usually have to have it to buy things and to grow your business. And so, people with a financial brain, we think a little differently than marketing and sales or CEOs and visionaries. We see numbers and we can understand how those numbers impact decisions. A lot of folks from B2B have a tremendous amount of experience with all sorts of different industries, and we've seen a lot of things. And so that experience that we can bring to the table, that piece of the financial brain, as I call it, really allows for us to say, well, what if? So what if that contract doesn't go well? How are you going to get out of it? And is that going to cost you money? Or what is the risk if you do X and it doesn't go well? Do you have the cash for that project that you want to do? So really having that person at the table who can think from the numbers perspective. And we're not just numbers people, because the strategy of what a business does and how it moves forward, it envelops all aspects. And so, we can look at sales and marketing, and I'm not a sales and marketing expert, but I sure know when it smells kind of funny and when it appears to not be working. And so, you look at it and you say, what information can we understand from the financial statements or the KPIs or the measurements that we have? And if it's not working, let's find somebody who can help, who can fix. And really having another brain, a brain at the table for a business owner or leadership team to have someone to bounce things off. So, a lot of people in the small and medium-sized business space, they're the only ones in their business. They have workers, they have shift supervisors, but really to look at how my business is running. Is it profitable? Am I going to be able to retire? Can I take a vacation without having to worry about picking up the phone every 15 minutes? Those are things that we can help look at Again, not an expert in everything, but we really can sit at the table and talk about how does the business function? Is it going well? Where do we need to look for risk mitigation? Do you have the right insurances? Do you have people who are using HR policies and processes appropriately so you're not getting yourself in trouble? And really that piece is what we provide. We are trusted advisors and want to be that partner with the business owner as they grow over time.
Yeah, that's great. I think, what strikes me here, Hilary, is that when, we all have different gifts and strengths, right? And I come from that world of sales and marketing. And so I've lots of perspective there. But when it comes to the financial side of things, I think coming from the sales perspective, my attitude is usually, hey, just sell more and we'll figure out how to pay for it later, right? So just sell more. That fixes everything, right? Just sell more.
Right.
But yeah, that could be a pretty irresponsible way to go about it and can get you in a bind for sure. So I love the idea of just having someone who's sitting there and kind of using your gifts and strengths, being able to ask key questions that can help us think through the things that we're talking about, whether it be sales and marketing or partnerships or growth, expansion, taking on debt, whatever the case may be. Tell us about the pace. What does it look like from a practical standpoint in terms of the pace or, the cadence of conversations and the nature of the conversations that you have? What does that look like?
Well, every business owner is different, and that's not a dodge of your question. Every business owner wants information in a different manner or at a different speed. So what I really like to do is to make sure that I'm in consistent contact with my clients. The business owners have what they need. So far, that looks like a meeting once a week. It could be a meeting every 2 weeks. It's a time that we really want to make sure that we're sitting down, very focused attention with the business owner to talk about what is working, what is not working well, what do we need to fix going forward. Part of that is working with the business owner's team. So I may not need to talk to the business owner every week, but maybe need to talk to the bookkeeper or the accounting folks and see what's going on. There are, every business owner is different. All the partners at B2B and really any consultant that you bring in, we all operate a little differently, but what we want to make sure is that line of communication is open. And if you don't have that, you need that. So as a business owner, if you have people that are working for you that you don't understand or you don't communicate with, that's one of the first things you should be able to ask for them to provide is we need some open communication. Meeting once a week, emails, financial statements, all of those things have to be gone over, but it has to be a very, very well-defined line of communication.
Yeah, that's great. Well, so one question that comes to mind for me too, Hilary, is I think about, okay, what are the common mistakes that you see happen when someone's not doing this? That may seem obvious, but I'm sure there's probably some things that you see that aren't obvious to the business owner until they happen. And then they go, gosh, why didn't I know that? Why didn't I think of that kind of a thing? So anything come to mind for you there?
Yeah, actually a couple of things. So when you talked about, I'll just sell more. Yes, we'd love to just sell more, except if you're selling more and the production side of what you're delivering can't keep up, we're not showing good service to our customers. So you can sell more, but people aren't happy because they're not getting the item that they've been promised or the time they've been promised. And that's a problem. If you're losing money on each item that you sell, and you sell more, you just end up losing more money. So looking at it from that perspective, a couple of the things that business owners can really look, from a quick perspective is if you're looking at your bank statement and your bank account every day, and that's how you're making decisions on whether you have cash to pay for something, you're missing parts and pieces to that conversation. So really you should be looking at a cash forecast. There are things that are going to come up in the next week, month, quarter that you need to have cash for. And if you spend it all today because you're just looking at your bank account today, you're going to be behind when that big bill comes in the next quarter. The other one is to know your numbers. And not every business owner is a numbers person. Absolutely understand that. But it's your business. It's your money. It's your your legacy in a lot of cases. And so to know your numbers at minimum, get the information, how much cash is coming in, how much cash is going out. And I'll give you a quick tip. I'll make you a finance professional. Here you go. 2
Thank
plus
you.
2 is always 4. Okay. And you need more money coming in than going out. Those are the things that make finance, relatively simple in a very complex world. But it's the truth. You don't have to be a math genius. You don't have to, get into really high finance and complicated derivative markets and all of those things. As a business owner, you just need to know what's coming in and what's going out. And you need to be able to plan, and knowing those numbers from your sales forecasts to your production values, how many employee hours that you're using, if you have that, or contractor hours. Are you getting a value for the dollar that you're spending? And all of those are things that you don't have to have an expert at your elbow to be able to help you. Yes, people can provide some expertise or some unique ways of looking at that information, but that's something that you can start looking at today.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I think the thing that stands out for me there, Hillary, is that when you talk about the cash flow kind of trends, right, and the cash projections, it's what you were talking about. And I think my mind went to trends at that point, because I think one of the things I think many of us in small and medium-sized businesses will struggle with is, okay, I see the numbers, but what story are the numbers telling me?
Mm-hmm.
And so having someone who can sit there and tell us, okay, doing a 6-month look back and then looking what's out ahead, 2 or 3 months, here's the story that's, that we're seeing to unfold, and here are the things we need to talk about as a result of that. So that piece I think is really valuable, because I'm guilty of it myself. I'll look at numbers and I go, okay, well, that looks good. I don't really know what this is telling me. And so I'll put it back in the file cabinet and move on.
Yeah. And you're not alone. There are a lot of people who are, that's my number. Either they don't know. A lot of business owners don't know their numbers, or they don't understand the story that it's telling. And that's really, to your point, Steve, it's very important to understand that, because, if you think of someone like a farmer who's very seasonal in their cash flow, they put money out for seed and they have to wait 3 to 6 months, depending on the crop, to get money back in. So really being able to plan. Now, they're used to it. That's the historical seasonality. Every business owner has a seasonality in their offerings. And so really being able to understand what that's going to look like. The other thing is, when you make a change to your business, whether it's you hired someone or you're changing your offerings, every one of those decisions is going to have an impact on your cash flow. And again, cash is king. Got to have more coming in than going out. And so if you've hired a new salesperson and they started today, your cash out is going to go up for their salary. And you're probably not going to see cash in from their efforts for a little while. So do you have the cash in the bank to cover that salary until they start bringing more sales in? And that's a question that a lot of business owners will ask. When is the right time to hire someone? And the answer, I know, sort of sounds like a non-answer, is it depends. Yeah. Do you have the cash in the bank to support that decision before you have revenue coming in? It's a chicken and egg. Are you wanting to have the revenue come in and then you're really behind? So maybe you're behind in production. You have orders and sales, but you don't have production to capacity to be able to fulfill that. Now you got to hire production capacity. And is that going to be a good hire, or is that going to be a hire in a time of stress? And then you're going to have a problem with that. And a little side note, although not an HR expert, I will tell you, a bad hire is worse than no hire. Little key. So even in the world of, we are struggling these days with finding the right talent to fit into our organization, don't settle. Don't compromise the values of your organization or the business that you have built as an owner by having a bad hire, because it will cost you more in the long run than waiting to try and find someone that's a much better fit for your organization.
Yeah, 100% agree with you there, Hilary. I've seen that happen over and over again in every company that I've been a part of. So that bad hires are expensive. So let's talk about, you brought up specifically the sales piece and the lag between the hiring of a salesperson and the point at which they're actually generating the revenue to pay for themselves. I'm curious, what do you typically see in that equation? I know, that may not be something you pay attention to, but you might actually, as you're having these conversations, I'm guessing the business owner's asking you, hey, Hilary, if we hire a salesperson tomorrow, at what point can we expect to see money hitting the bottom line that pays for them? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, and again, an answer, non-answers. It depends. Depends on the complication of your product and what training is involved for your salespeople. If you hire someone, you want to bring in someone who's a good fit for your organization, who thinks that your product or offering is really something that they can stand behind. That genuine authenticity from a salesperson is going to provide that relationship connection to your customer, and that's what you want. So there is a little bit of time to find your way in the organization, understand what it is that the processes are for selling and moving customers through the pipeline. But you should have an expectation up front that you've discussed with the salesperson. So, we expect you to take a couple days to find the cafeteria in the building. But, we want you to start talking to customers in this manner, this many a day. And again, that's going to go back to that open line of communication. What are the goals and what are the metrics for that salesperson? It's probably going to be at least a month. If not longer, again, depending on the complications of the complexity of the sale or offering that you have, but it's going to be a little bit, and you have to be prepared for that. And the other thing I would say is that people should not be afraid to have the conversation if something is not working exactly the way you think it should be. Nobody really likes to be micromanaged, but if the expectation was, there's 10 communications with potential customers a day and you have someone who's only at 1 or 2, that's a conversation that needs to be had sooner rather than later. We want to make sure that we understand, did you not understand the expectations? Is there a barrier to your being able to have these communications? Do you not understand the product, or those kinds of things, or something else that maybe the business owner needs to address with that employee? And that applies to any employee or contractor. Again, it's about measuring. So you get the outcomes you want from those things that you measure, and being able to measure that and have those conversations really will just put your business one step ahead.
Yeah, that's great. And I'll shock you by sharing a number with you, because I'm not a numbers guy, but I have a number when it comes to this conversation, thanks to our friends at HubSpot who did some research on this. But over 40% of sales representatives take 10 months to actually make a contribution to company goals. So that's a long time.
It's a very long
10 months is a long time, and 40% is a sizable number. So for that reason, I think, to your point, if you're hiring a salesperson, you better be paying attention to metrics early on, and especially around activity, right? Because it's activity that's going to ultimately lead to the outcomes you're looking for. And if those activity metrics aren't where they need to be, well, let's have a conversation about it. This also, by the way, is one of the reasons we exist at Alteza, because a lot of companies don't really need a full-time salesperson, right? And so bringing on someone part-time can actually really help kind of get the wheels turning and get the revenue flowing to the point where they can afford to bring somebody on full time. So,
right.
Yeah. So anyway,
it's a great thing that we are in the Zoom world these days, because it has opened the world up to small and medium-sized businesses to get the professional services that they need, such as a fractional sales person in their organization or a fractional CFO, to be able to have that expertise in their business without having a full-time employee, or an employee who's wearing so many hats that they never get really any of those done in a manner that's really what we're looking for.
Yeah. Well said. Great. Well, you tell us about how, if someone wants to get in touch with you to talk about what this looks like for them, how do they go about doing that?
Well, probably the easiest thing is on the internet is b2b.cfo.com. And we have a professionals list in there. And so if you want to talk to me, I'm happy to do that. And if you want to talk to a partner that's more local to where you live, we have partners across the United States, and we're all open to talking to potential clients and seeing if we can help. One of the ways that we do that, Steve, I know you and I've talked about this, is we do a free analysis, strategic analysis with a gap summary for any potential client. And it really allows us a little bit of time to spend with the business owner to understand where they are in their business today, where they want to go, and what are those barriers to being able to get to that picture of tomorrow. We do an industry comparison from a financial statement perspective. We have a lot of data that we can provide, and it gives us a chance for the business owner to see if we can communicate. Again, communication is key. That trusted business advisor, that trusted partner, you want to make sure it's somebody you can communicate with. And we're happy to do that. You can actually schedule one to talk to a partner right on our website, or you're welcome to look me up on LinkedIn, Hilary Dolbee. I think I'm the only one at B2B CFO these days for Hilary. So happy to connect with anyone. And if you're looking for someone with specific experience, as I said before, our partners have experience in just about every industry you can think of. And so we can find someone to help.
Awesome. Well, Hilary, thanks for the time. Super helpful. Again, I'm learning a ton from these conversations, and there's a lot of things that were definitely resonating for me throughout this. I made some notes, and you and I are going to be talking about it. So thank you again for the time. Really appreciate it. And we'll talk to you again soon.
Okay. Thank you for the time. And I appreciate you sharing this information, and I'm learning stuff as well. So it'll be a good day. Thanks,
Awesome.
Steve.
Happy to do it. All right. Bye, Hilary.
Bye.